Hey there. Sunday, end of the weekend. This weekend, I've been super lazy. Although I would say it's lazy just because I've been filling it up with the socializing. So that's not such a bad waste of time. It could be said that it's actually a very good use of time, right? But either way, I've also been kind of throwing away my time into a TV series, Chernobyl and Westworld. So I've been watching quite a bit of those two in the past week. And I would say it kind of brings up a few thoughts because obviously there is some strange behavior in both shows, which I can kind of generalize as to incentives, which is the topic that I want to discuss. Now, incentives are kind of interesting, right? Especially from an economist's point of view. Actually, there's a documentary also called Freakonomics, although I believe that it was originally a book, so maybe it wasn't a documentary. However, looking at Freakonomics, they kind of want to show that there is sometimes some correlation between two things without causing that particular effect. So, a lot of times you would like to think, if you live in a capitalist society, that if you give a monetary incentive, you perform the right behaviors to perform the right results. And unfortunately, I believe that we do realize that the incentive is oftentimes wrong. In fact, in the book Influencer, it kind of talks about how monetary influence can actually kind of skew the behavior in one direction, which may lead to some kind of short-term benefit. However, over a long term, it kind of changes the perception of it. So, for example, we would just say that what if we gave a person like $2 million a year to read a book? It turns out if you actually remove that incentive, while kind of extraordinary in itself, this person probably would not like to read the book. And this is said by the written in a book that the perception of the good behavior turns out to be the perception of actually getting money. So instead of actually developing a love for reading, they actually kind of associate reading to be associated with a lot of money. So unless you're willing to kind of put the incentive out there forever, it may not be so wise. But I think just looking at capitalism in the US society, the incentive is to make money. And unfortunately, this has come at a high cost in terms of labor. In terms of our labor force are somewhat treated as the lowest tier. In fact, they have the least benefits and the least incentives to do well. Because as long as you are incentivizing the business will continue to make money at the expense of workers. So if you don't have the incentive there to kind of increase the welfare of workers, for the most part, those changes would not be made, which is quite unfortunate. It's hard to describe what kind of incentive is needed or what kind of metrics are needed actually, because metrics are actually a very important part of how we kind of solve problems, right? If the problem is that the margin of profit is too low, then we'll do everything to increase it. So I guess now we would want to collect metrics on kind of worker satisfaction or something of that measure. Unfortunately, this is not quite as easy to quantify, but it is an important question to be going forward because it's not sustainable. And in terms of life expectancy and mental health, obviously things have been quite poor in the few recent years. Like the first 3 years where actually expected lifespan has dropped in the last 3 years, and this can be in large part due to many things. But I don't want to talk about too much. It's past 5 minutes, so that'll be it for this discussion, and I'll see you later. Enjoy your weekend, or the rest of it. All right, tonight I'm having chicken carcass for dinner. I cooked a whole chicken and, peeled away most of the meat, so I'm just going to scrape off the leftovers off this guy. And a little bit of cabbage and brown rice, so pretty simplistic. Not particularly appetizing, but, can't let that meat go to waste. See ya.